The Democrats are lost. They're gone. They're done. I'm just going to call it. I don't think they can make it back. And I know it's funny because yesterday during the J.D. Rucker show, I said that perhaps the Democratic Socialists of America had peaked. And then I started after the show, I started watching some more videos, reading some more articles, and I now realize that they might not have the whatever you want to call them, the uniparty swamp Democrats. They might not have the will to be able to take advantage of what the DSA is doing, the Marxists, which they're peaking too fast, too hard. They're exposing themselves, being very bold, very unapologetic, and they're starting to turn people off. But the Democrats, the mainstream Democrats, if you will, they're not taking advantage of it. There's only a handful of them that are coming out and saying anything bad. The rest of them are just kind of keeping quiet, playing the whole big tent thing. So in less than 24 hours, I'm not reversing myself, but I'm hedging my bet a little bit. I'm going to say that I think that it's very possible that the Democrats aren't just losing control, they're losing their party altogether. And then the Marxists are, I would say, at least 50-50 chance that maybe this election cycle, but more likely within the next 2 election cycles, they will take full control of the Democrat Party, and the current Democrats are going to be gone. It's very similar to, by the way, the way that the call it the neocon rhino mixture, how they started losing control of their party, the Republican Party, thanks to President Trump. Now, since then, there's been more of a merger because, to be clear, the MAGA movement wasn't even close to being extreme right compared to what the DSA is to the extreme left. Okay, I mean they're way out there. They're off the map. Versus the MAGA movement, the populist movement, if you will. In some ways, it wasn't even as conservative. In certain aspects, it wasn't as traditionally conservative as even the rhino neocon portion of the Republican Party, the George W. Bush wing of the Republican Party, right? But in most of them, they were to the right. Still are. It doesn't matter how you want to classify the GOP today. The point is that the Democrats are in deep, deep trouble. Let's go to our first clip. This is from Laura Ingram's show yesterday, I believe. A couple of guests talking about how the Trump agenda, the America First agenda, is delivering while the socialist agenda is already starting to crumble, and it isn't even in control yet.
So what can he really do but laugh?
Being a Muslim Democratic Socialist, I thought it would be pretty straightforward.
You just saw like, well, what if I label myself something that scares people the most? I'm a Muslim Democratic Socialist.
If you scare him twice.
Well, he's certainly scaring his tax base away, as naive followers think they're just going to get a whole bunch of free stuff. The wealthy, they're fleeing the city.
They want to give everyone everything away. You want free rent, you want free house, what they don't say is that a year from now, there'll be absolute squalor, turmoil, and death. And that's the way it's happened. John Ossoff and the Democrat communists want to let the Marxists into power, bankrupt your families, and leave you totally undefended with wide open borders. But we will not let that happen to our country. We're not going to let it happen.
So in the battleground states, the socialist shuffle, it's not really helping them. And in the Senate race in Michigan, hard left candidate Abdul El-Sayed knows it.
You haven't embraced that socialist label despite embracing a lot of those same policies. Why not?
Because I'm just not a socialist. Like, I don't fight for a label. I fight for people. And maybe it's just because I'm too much of a scientist. Like, I'm an empiricist. Show me solutions that can work to solve problems, and I'll be for them.
I'm too much of a scientist. he was not a practicing physician. We know that. He went to med school, fantastic. But come on, let's not try to hang it on your scientist card. And what solutions is El Sayed talking about? Abolishing ICE? Defunding the police? Because he's for both of those. So Democrats here are in a socialist trap of their own making. For years and years, because they wanted voters, they wanted young people, they fed the beast. They looked the other way when these things were said. But now they just have to hope the beast doesn't come for them. So they end up trying to downplay the crazy and reframe it as something more benign.
Generally, their crazy ideas aren't where the energy is. The energy isn't around, like, we shouldn't have prisons or borders. The energy is around a belief that their economic populism. It's about strengthening a safety net for a country that has suffered too long, overvaluing capital and money and undervaluing labor and work. That's all. That's it.
Well, first of all, the only economic populism out there is from Trump. Okay, it's talking about trade and restricting immigration. It's not economic populism when you flood the country with millions of people who then end up driving wages down for the working class. So nice try, John. And also, do their supporters really even know what they believe?
How do you think things are going under Mamdani?
I mean, I'm not super aware of what's going on in the news, but I think from what I've been hearing, pretty well.
So far, so great from what I know.
What have you heard?
I know he wants to, I don't know, like, get rid of, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not super aware of what's going on in the news.
The people love him. I hear that more often than not.
Can I buy a vowel? I think the most interesting analysis of this supposed new socialist wave came from a University of Connecticut professor today writing in the Wall Street Journal. He said that almost no one my age, his age, has studied a Marx beyond any digestible short-form scroll. Generation Z is filled with people who feel wronged, and those who feel wrong gravitate toward the loudest thing opposed to whatever they sense wrong them. Young people can be socialists, and some truly are, but a symbol you can wear and can't define, can't argue with, can't see the flaws in, is an aesthetic, not politics. Here to break it all down is Jake Altman, former DSA member, and Byron York, Fox News contributor. Jake, I want to start with you. I thought this symposium, short little symposium in the Journal, was interesting because the professor basically said, these young people, they don't even know what they're getting into. They haven't read Marx. They look at, posts on X, they look at TikTok videos, and Mamdani's really good at that. But they don't really know where this ends up. Do you agree with that analysis?
I think I do agree with that analysis. There are a lot of people who are operating based on feels instead of facts. My real concern is that the hardcore activists in DSA, in the Democratic Socialists of America, really do believe this stuff. They really do know where they want to go. It's incredibly extreme. Their end goal is communism, and we should all be concerned about that.
Byron, the president's decided to go all in on the C word, taking this message to Georgia today.
Brandon Gill, Congressman Brandon Gill, has a take on all this, basically why the Democrats are failing so badly. And as usual, look, I hate to put anybody up on any pedestal, especially if they're a politician, but Brandon Gill continues to, on a daily basis, say the right things. We'll see. I got my eyes on him.
I think your average rank-and-file Democrat in the House right now recognizes that the Democratic Socialists are no longer the fringe in their party. That is the mainstream. That's where their base is. And they're not going to speak out against that because they don't want the backlash from their base. But, it's really rich whenever you have these relative moderates. Many of these are still far-left Democrats, but relative moderates complaining about the direction that their party is going whenever this is the direction they put their party on. This is the trajectory they put their party on. If you're going to spend all of your time bashing capitalism, you should expect the younger Democrats who listen to that to become socialists. If you're going to spend all your time bashing the police like the Democrats have done, expect younger Democrats to support defunding the police. If you're going to spend all your time bashing America as a white supremacist country, you should expect younger Democrats to hate that country and want to abolish its institutions like the Senate. So what we're seeing is the Democrats are reaping what they've been sowing for so long.
See, therein lies the biggest challenge for Democrat politicians. And it's not exclusive to them. There are a lot of Republicans that fall under this category. But I would argue that the Democrats hold in slightly higher regard than even the worst Republicans. They hold the desire to acquire and retain power above everything else. They are willing to hurt people, more so than even Republicans are. And yes, like I said, I don't want to make it sound as if, oh, there's no Republicans that crave power. No, there's plenty. It's just at a different scale, lower scale than what your generic Democrats are willing to do. As far as the Democratic Socialists of America, I would say that they are different and worse because they're more aggressive in seizing power, and that tells you how they will govern. They want to seize power from the Democrat Party. They also want to seize control of government. They want to seize your assets, seize your guns, seize your property, seize control, and they will never, ever, ever, ever let go if, God forbid, they were ever able to get into power. And again, I would say most Democrats are kind of trying to stay out of the fray. There are a handful, I forgot this lady's name, but there are up in Michigan who basically said, look, I'm not going to support the guy that's being supported by and willing to support and campaign with Hassan Piker.
Choosing to campaign with Hassan Piker, who said America deserved September 11. Sure, he went on to disavow those comments, but I'm telling you, nobody on my team would ever, come even close to making a comment like that.
So will you not back him if he wins the primary? Will you not support him?
You know, Jake, I think that it's really important to make a clear distance from yourself and these comments, and that's exactly what I've been doing, in this race. I will not even come close to being associated with comments like America deserved September 11.
Well, Dr. Syed would say, well, I didn't say that, and I don't think that Hassan Piker said it, and I don't agree with everything everybody I campaign with says.
But here's the critical point on that, Jake, is that he might say that, right? And sure, I give him credit for disavowing it after the fact. But the reality is he also didn't have to choose to campaign with Hassan Piker. To me, that's a non-starter. Saying something like America deserved September 11.
I'm just now coming around to listening to Hassan Piker, and I'm already done. The guy is, I'm not going to say he's an idiot, because he's not. And if you think he is, then you're underestimating him. He's definitely not an idiot. He is a dirtbag. Obviously, he hates America, and he wants to destroy America. He doesn't, but he's also a clown on top of that. This guy isn't the kind of guy that you would ever expect to wear a suicide vest or commit an act of terrorism himself, but he will cheer the terrorists. He is way too narcissistic to ever actually engage in it, but he will wear his Mao Zedong outfit, his costume that he likes to wear a lot lately, because he knows that it triggers people. It does, and it should, because Mao Zedong killed, 45 million of his own people, so scumbag. Does Hassan Piker fall into the same category? No, he hasn't killed anybody that we know of yet, but he is ideologically just as bad because he wants to, again, destroy the United States of America. For those who don't know him, this is the same guy that blamed America for 9/11. This is the same guy that's called for violence multiple times. He's a podcaster, like me, except unlike me, he hates America. I love America, and I want to preserve it. And I want to stop people like Hassan Piker. All right, enough intro, and I'm just saying that because I'm assuming that, I'm hoping that most of you have never really paid much attention to him. But you should. You should pay attention to him, not necessarily, I'm not saying watch a show, but you should pay attention to what he represents, which is an actual legitimate danger. Now, a lot of people are starting to say that he is a kingmaker amongst the Democratic Socialists of America, right? I think it's the other way around. I think that he is being made into a king, into a, Tucker Carlson of the left or whatever. There is really very little similarity between them, to be clear, when it comes to their style or anything like that. Tucker is is oftentimes unhinged, but he's not stupid crazy the same way that Hassan Piker is. I would say that Hassan Piker is actually, if you're going to attribute him to a similarity to someone, it would be like the Marxist version of old Howard Stern, in the old days when he was still at least somewhat entertaining. I never watched him. I never listened to him. But I know a lot of people said that, yeah, he used to be kind of fun. He's shock jock, right? That's what they're calling him. The problem is because he is a very politically minded person who's willing to say just about anything at any time. Obviously, if he's willing to say that it's America's fault that the Twin Towers were attacked, the Pentagon was attacked, 9/11 happened, and he's supporting it. Clearly, he is worse than just a shock jock. He is a terrorist sympathizer, and he is very, very adept at getting people like me to want to spit, which is why I made it through I've listened to a total combined probably 20 or 30 minutes. Okay, 30-second clip here, 2-minute clip there, and I'm done. I understand him. I understand him, and I appreciate that he is dangerous. But again, they're saying he's the kingmaker. It's the other way around. He's being made into a king by the Democratic Socialists of America. Yes, he does have an extremely wide audience, but these aren't people. He's not convincing any of them to go vote for a Marxist. They're already, because they're listening to him, they're already of that mindset. Anyone who's not going to vote for a Marxist, even a Democrat, couldn't listen to the crap that he peddles. Now, for those who don't know him, he's the nephew of Cenk Uygur. He's the ultimate champagne socialist in that he complains about capitalism, and yet he is very rich and flaunts his richness. He's like, look at my cars, look at my watches, look at my dog that I have a shock collar on. I mean, he's a contradiction. And that, to be clear, that type of mentality, that type of personality, that's what appeals to the radicals on the left. They love it. They can't get enough of this guy. And again, he has a boldness about him that he tries to portray himself above the fray, even to the point of going after some of the leftist darlings. He's gone after AOC before, saying that she's too big on optics. Recently, he went after what's the name? Zohran Mamdani. Sort of. It was a mild going after, but he did attack him. Let me pull up that story real quick. We have this over at truthbasedmedia.com. Hassan Piker wants Mamdani to stop playing nice and say the quiet part out loud. In other words, if you want to get a flavor of who Hassan Piker is, he thinks that Zohran Mamdani is not quite radical enough, at least overtly. That's pretty crazy. According to the article, the most revealing thing about Hassan Piker's public scolding of Zohran Mamdani is what he did not complain about. He did not say that the mayor of New York was governing wrong. He is governing wrong, but Hassan Piker didn't say that. He did not say that the policies were mistaken, the priorities misplaced, or the results disappointing. They have been extraordinarily disappointing, especially for those who are paying attention, which is funny because I've seen multiple, man on the street interviews of people asking about Zohran Mamdani, and they're finding anybody that looks like a college-age New Yorker and asking them, what do you think about Mamdani? And they're like, oh, yeah, this is great. It's like, what do you like the most? And they're like, I actually don't pay much attention to anything that actually happens. I don't pay attention to the news. Seriously, like all of them. We just know we like Zohran Mamdani. He's going to change the world. God forbid. Piker, the Twitch streamer whose audience now functions as an informal primary electorate on the American left, was recounting a New York Times interview during a taping of Mehdi Hassan's Zedio podcast. I listened to it, but I didn't notice what they called the name, so I guess it's Zedio, I don't know. By his account, the Time asked Mamdani what he would do with unlimited money. Asking Piker. And Piker said, he's like, exactly the same policies I'm implementing. And I'm like, shut the F up, dude. He didn't like that. He didn't like the notion that a sitting politician, a Democrat Socialist of America, a Marxist, a Muslim Marxist, which, to be fair, Hassan Piker is also, he was raised Muslim. He's not a practicing Muslim, allegedly. We don't know for sure, but I don't think he is. He doesn't act like it. He acts like, again, a champagne socialist, but whatever. Sit with that for a moment. A sitting mayor told a newspaper that his agenda is his agenda regardless of budget. And a streamer with no office, no ballot line, and no accountability to a single voter found the answer so insufficiently thrilling that he cursed at his own ally on tape. Zedio's promotional copy of the episode asks how a 34-year-old socialist Twitch broadcaster became a kingmaker in the Democrat Party. The question answers itself in the audio, and I'm not going to play the audio, not just because he's a troll, not just because I don't want to risk having the show taken down for copyright or anything like that, but mostly because I don't want him exposed. I want you to take my word for it, okay? You don't need to listen to this guy. Yeah, I'm a big fan of knowing your enemy, knowing your opponent, and being aware of who they are, what they are, finding flaws. With people so overtly and unambiguously evil like Hassan Piker, there's just no need to listen to him. Not because I'm scared that you're going to believe him. It's just, your blood pressure will go up if you listen to him for 30 seconds or more, because he says stupid things. And again, this is a guy that absolutely, positively, unambiguously hates America, wants to fundamentally transform us, and not in the Barack Obama way, in the what we used to think was overt. Now it feels so subtle compared to what they're trying to do now within these Marxist circles. No, he wants to tear down the foundation of the United States of America. He wants this nation to implode upon itself. Total disarray. End of capitalism. End of sane governance. End of all of it. And then he wants to participate in either the rebuilding of it, or he'll go fly back to the Middle East or someplace and spend his money there. He doesn't care. He just wants to burn the entire thing down. And again, if it can be rebuilt in the image of Mao Zedong, his idol, then so be it. If it can't, if it just stays destroyed and America ceases to exist, he thinks that's a positive thing as well. This guy is pure evil. And I don't want to... I'm not going to acknowledge the notion that he is a kingmaker. I think he's a hustler, a scammer, a grifter, if you will. He's taking advantage of the rising popularity of the Democratic Socialists of America. He's latching onto it, pretending to lead it, but in reality, he's just a follower. He's just a shock jock.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
So, I know there's a lot of you out there. You see this, you see Zohar Mamdani, you see Hassan Piker, you see Abdul Saeed, you see all these people, and you're like, there's no way. Maybe we should just let it happen. Maybe we should just let the Democrat Party get what some of them want and have their party destroyed, because you're thinking to yourself, and I know, 3D, 4D, 5D chess, whatever, you're thinking, if the DSA takes over the Democrat Party, then that's the end of the Democrat Party, okay? And you're being too complacent, and you're not taking into account many things. Number one, why risk it, okay? No need to risk it at all. This isn't some master strategy that's going to ever work, because before their ultimate demise, things would reverse course, and they could jump right back up and whatever. You get the idea. Number two, don't forget about powers and principalities, spiritual wickedness in high places. This is a spiritual battle that we're in, and I don't want to give them an inch at all. They're going to take inches, feet, yards, miles, they're going to take that by force. So why would we help them at all? Why would we cheer for them at all? They want to destroy America. They must be stopped. No 5D chess on this one. No playing games. Okay? Number 3, never, ever, ever underestimate, I don't want to say the stupidity because that's the wrong way to put it, the gullibility of many millions of voters in the United States of America. It sucks that we have an electorate that just, I would say a majority, are very, very ill-informed. Even the ones that vote right, sometimes they vote right just because they get a feeling, or just because, they've always voted for Republicans or whatever. But that doesn't mean they're necessarily informed. It could just be habitual. It could just be, they like Trump, they like Vance, they like whatever. But they can, if the right personality comes along, even somebody who's always voted Republican could get swayed because of the gullibility of the electorate. So please do not underestimate that. Number 4, and this is off the top of my head, I'm just going to start spitting all these out. Number 4, voter fraud. It's happening. It's real. We'll get to it. I'll talk. We got a clip from John Solomon here in a minute that we'll get to. Democrats cheat. They cheat and they win a lot of times. Look what's happening in California. Okay, they're pushing Nithya Raman, a Democrat Socialist of America ally. She's not technically DSA, but she's DSA. She just shed the label for now, but she'll hop right back on it after she's mayor. She finished 3rd. You can't convince me that in reality, take away the manufactured votes after the fact, take those away, and she finished a distant 3rd. Okay, Spencer Pratt should be the next mayor, and he allegedly finished 3rd. And that's just one example. They were able to take Joe Biden and somehow manufacture enough votes for him to have. He had more black votes than either Barack Obama or Kamala Harris. Joe Biden did? No, he didn't. They cheated. He did not get 81 million votes. Joe Biden did not get 81 million votes. There's no way that I could ever be convinced, short of an angel coming down and saying, no, it's he legitimately did. There was just this crazy angst about Trump and Republicans, and so there was an extra few million voters that have never voted before and won't ever vote again. But by golly, they propelled Joe to 81 million votes. And yes, it would take a spiritual entity to convince me of that. So yeah, they cheat. Don't underestimate that. And then, last but not least, their fundraising apparatus is driven by foreign money. This is another variation of cheating, but they're able to raise stupid amounts of money, crazy amounts of money, off of small donors. These small donors, through Act Blue, they're not real. You've got a handful, I don't know how many, could be 1, it could be 50, it could be 500, I don't know how big the cabal is, but there's a lot of rich people here and abroad, foreigners, who are sinking a lot of money, getting it to these politicians, including DSA members. They're able to do this in ways that would blow your mind. And it's insane that this hasn't been the biggest story for at least the last couple of years. James O'Keefe really exposed it a while back. Back when Joe Biden was president, James O'Keefe was exposing this. And others have too. And I've been talking about it for a long time now. And yet it still persists. And we still get videos like this one. Now, let me say up front, I don't recall. I'm going to play it. You know me, I'm PG-13. I don't like cursing on my show. I didn't filter this one. I watched it, but I didn't filter it. I don't think there's any foul language, but if there is, apologies up front, but it's important stuff.
Well, here we are, out in the deep, thick country of Michigan, looking for one Elizabeth Waffle, 88 years old, donated nearly $150,000 in the last 5 years to Democratic causes. This is one of El Sayed's micro donors. Doesn't look like the Taj Mahal by any means. Come along. Where's the house? Okay, if I'm not back in 5 minutes, call somebody. Ding, 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 ding. Hello? Here's a walker. Hi, madam.
Okay.
Pleasure. My name's Charlie. Are you Elizabeth Waffle?
Yeah.
It says here that you've donated $150,000 in the last 5 years to various campaigns, and that you've made nearly 15,000 donations.
I doubt it.
You want to see it?
15,000, yeah.
15,000 separate donations on the computer. Did you make 15,000 donations in 5 years? $150,000?
150? Hell no. I don't have that kind of money.
Do you have internet?
Sometimes.
Sometimes?
Yeah.
Do you have a computer?
No.
No? So how could you make all these donations?
I don't know. Are these all mine?
Yes, this is, now, there's 900 pages. I ran out of paper to print it on. Yeah, all of these.
I have bad knees, and then I went out and sprained an ankle. And so I'm...
Well, with $150,000, you get those knees replaced.
No, I don't think I've ever spent that much.
When's the last time you lived in Canfield?
Well, I lived there for 1 year after the house burned.
Oh, your house here burned, yeah? So what it has here, here's the dates. In August 27th of 2024, you not only contributed on the same day from this address, but also from the Canfield address. So it says like you were in two places at the same time on the same day.
Well, I still own the property out here, so...
Surely.
Yeah.
But it says how many contributions that day did you do? It's 10.
It could be. I don't remember quite that much of it, but...
Not $150,000 though.
I can't believe it.
And not 15,000 times.
Yeah.
And you have spotty internet. What's this one? Aaron Rugenberg? Rugenberg.
That name doesn't ring a bell.
Doesn't ring a bell, huh?
Doesn't mean a bell at all.
150,000 is abnormal.
150,000 is very abnormal, and I think it's wrong. I think there's something in there that's off.
Can you show me how to make a donation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Come on.
Internet.
This thing hates me. I'm not on the internet right at the moment. I'll get it straightened around when I get in the house, if that ever happens.
How long, when did your house burn down?
2 years ago.
Oh my goodness.
Everything goes through ActBlue. ActBlue is like the bank.
So everything you do goes through ActBlue? You don't go to amyklobuchar.com and donate? No,
I do everything through ActBlue.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. All ActBlue. Got a couple bucks I could borrow?
Are you kidding? I got a couple guys coming back to mow the lawn, and I just went through my pocket to see if I had enough money for them.
Do you?
I think so.
You need a couple? You need a couple bucks to give to the guys to mow your lawn?
Yeah.
I got it. Elizabeth, where's your car? This one? Maybe I'll call some of these politicians and get your money back. Yes, ma'am. Power to the people.
Good stuff there. Sweet, sweet people. Being taken advantage of, or being used, not taken advantage of. I mean, here's the thing. Why does the ActBlue system work? Because the people don't actually get hurt per se. Okay? So you take random Democrat donor. They put their money in. They donate $15 to Barack Obama in 2012. Well, they're in the system. And now, being in the system, they can be used, that donation can be used, just take that data and just start throwing more donations in that person's name. It's not their money. They're not being robbed. But taking, money from Neville Roy Singham or whoever and dropping it in this big huge pot with untraceable credit cards or whatever, untraceable like whatever, what are they, disposable debits or whatever. Just take that money and okay, cool, yeah, no, here we'll go ahead and here's another $50, $100, $50, $200, $50, $20, $5, $10, like you saw in that video, like 10 donations in a day. Okay, and again, it's not her money. She's not being robbed here. But two things. Number one, obviously, very highly, extremely, stupendously illegal. But number two, it does put people at risk. Now, if somebody wanted to, and I'm not saying that they would, I'm not trying to give anybody ideas, but because this is public record, they could, just like how that guy found all this information. What if it wasn't that guy? What if it was somebody, here's a lady, let's scope this out. She just donated like $150,000. Obviously, she's got plenty of money to throw around at political campaigns. Let's go see where she lives. Oh, she lives in this area or this place that has no security, no alarm system. She must be keeping her money somewhere. You get the idea. I don't want to give anybody ideas. Okay, so that was number 5 on my list. Let's go back to number 4, cheating, just direct cheating. We saw what happened in Jersey. And I hope that there's repercussions. I don't have high hopes. DOJ is on it, okay? But are they going to be able to nail actual voter fraud? Or are they going to be just going after those who engaged in it, the 400 plus, however many illegal aliens that voted illegally? Are they the ones that are going to get in trouble? Or can we actually finally start tracking down and reverse engineering what they're doing to get to that point to where they're allowing this? Now, John Solomon, he investigated. He called and found out, oh, you got Mickey Sherrill out there saying, oh, it was this third-party vendor's fault. Third-party vendor's like, no, there's no glitch on our end. No, this is on them. They're cheating.
As you know, last night, the New Jersey governor admitted that 6,600 illegal aliens had made it onto New Jersey's voter rolls. At least that number, it could be a lot larger. And 400 of them actually cast a vote. That is the largest number of foreigners ever to vote in any collection of an election in American history. When we told you that last night, the governor said, not our fault. It was a software glitch. No big deal. Well, overnight, we reached out to the software company that runs New Jersey's system. And you know what they said? There's no software glitch at all. The state of New Jersey knew they were putting non-citizens, i.e. foreigners, onto the voter rolls. It is the state's responsibility to determine who is eligible to vote and who's not. The software had it marked right. That is a major contradiction. And just a little while ago, the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights in the U.S. Justice Department, Harmeet Dillon, announced that there is an investigation of New Jersey now into whether they knowingly were allowing non-citizens to vote and to get on the voter rolls. Remember, a week ago, she sent a letter out saying, if you let non-citizens vote knowingly, you're in trouble. Well, now the vendor's comments raised a very strong possibility that one of the blue states in America may have acceded to allowing non-citizens to vote. We're going to keep a close eye on that. Hope to get Harmeet Dillon on the show the next couple of days to describe what is going on. But that is a big thing.
Great stuff, as always, from the magnificent John Solomon. Now, let's go back to ripping on the Democrats. I wasn't going to play this clip, and let me explain why. And this is going to be very unpopular. Some of you are not going to like me saying this. I'm not a fan of Greg Gutfeld. I know he's fine. And let me be clear before I say too much. As far as him personally, he's fine. He's good. He seems like a nice guy. I've just never found his stuff to be that funny. Okay? He's supposed to be the funny guy in the news, right? And his late night show. I've watched quite a bit of it. A lot more than I've watched of Hassan Piker, that's for sure. And I don't laugh. I don't think there's nothing wrong with it. It's just not my cup of tea. Okay? With that said, this particular monologue, I happened to watch it, talking about Democrat socialists, and It's spot on. Now, to be clear, well, let me backtrack a little bit. When I say I'm not a fan of Greg Gutfeld, I'm not a fan of his comedy. His perspectives, one of the top, I think, one of the smartest guys on Fox News. Okay, and when he's able to, as you're about to see in this clip, in my humble opinion, when you're able to mix, hey, he's funny. He mentions the history of butt plugs. I didn't know you could say that on television, but he's funny in this one, and as usual, he's actually pretty spot on.
All right, monologue time. So why are Democratic Socialists so angry? Besides the fact that this is the greatest time to be alive. Well, it turns out they screwed up their lives. Stat whiz Nate Silver dropped these numbers showing that the bluest voters in America are white people with postgraduate degrees but low incomes. They're educated but broke. They spent thousands of dollars on an ethnic studies degree, a degree that misled them into thinking there's a demand for people with an ethnic studies degree. So how did they get there? Statistically, more education used to mean more money. With advanced degrees, you get more status, more respect, and of course, an endless supply of tweed and corduroy jackets. But the world has changed. There's a whole bunch of people with fancy degrees, but no one's hiring. And you know who makes up a whole miserable chunk of that group? The Democrat Socialists. The worst combination since my bike lock was 4 zeros. Who would steal a Huffy? 80% of DSA members over 25 have at least a bachelor's degree, yet 45% report incomes below 60 grand. No wonder they want free buses. Silver calls them highly educated, downwardly mobile. Translation, they were born on third base, but ended up on first. They had every advantage and blew it, so they want the rest of us to wait in bread lines. It's why we're seeing them back this.
I think it is time for us to tax billionaires their wealth. We've got an economy that's churning out billionaires at a record pace.
We're living in a rigged economic system while the very richest people in America have never, ever had it so good.
In 2028, yes, we have an opportunity to move beyond the current federal administration. It is possible to put working people back at the heart of our politics.
Working people. That's not what this is about. It's about the credentialed class who went to college to take courses in the history of the butt plug, then expected success, piles of money, and high status for their subsidized virtue signaling. But that payoff, it never came. Instead, they got college debt and zero skills. They have to call someone to unclog a toilet, then they turn around and increase that guy's taxes. It's true, they watch the electrician, the plumber, the welder, the guys who skipped college and built real skills, now buying houses, cars, and building families. Here's Palantir's Alex Karp summarizing it nicely.
You know, Ivy League grad voting for this mayor is highly annoyed that their education is not that valuable, and the person down the street who knows how to drill for oil and gas who's moved to Texas has a more valuable profession. And I think that annoys the out of these people.
It's true. Meanwhile, the blue-collar folks are living the dream. It's true. The only complaint I hear from my plumber is that I can't keep flushing those letters from Make-A-Wish. So it's all flipped. The non-college grads are winning. The credentialed class may possess high cultural capital, working on campus or in nonprofits, but they're financially strapped. Worse, they still spend money on status maintenance, which comes at the expense of savings. They can't afford a home, but they spend thousands on weekly therapy, yoga and Pilates studios, eating at trendy farm-to-table restaurants, specialty groceries, pricey coffees. And proximity to the rich only increases the status pressure, which leads to credit card debt and addiction. And yet they cling to these elite behaviors for the prestige. So now they're angry and willing to burn the whole system down by voting for radicals who vow to do just that. Because those idiots hate capitalism since it works and their path doesn't. Instead, it creates nothing and punishes success while rewarding failure. But to the elite voter, it doesn't matter because years ago, they had a choice: social capital or financial security. They chose wrong. So they'll flock to the DSA who say it's not your fault. It's billionaires, the cops, the dude you saw at your high school who owns a boat and didn't go to college. And getting revenge is the only way to get justice. Socialism is now, as always, a coping mechanism for the envious, where you torch everything because you didn't get what you wanted. Of course, that was never our problem, but now they're going to make it ours. Let's welcome...
Good stuff there. I'm running low on time, so minimal commentary. I want to go to Clay Travis. I want to play this whole thing. It's not just about the Democratic Socialists of America. But he was on with Harris Faulkner, and I think the whole segment was worth noting. So it's pretty long, so I'm just gonna play the whole thing, no commentary.
Your top line thoughts on this?
Every single person who illegally voted, I would echo, should be immediately deported. I don't even see how this is a remote question at all. Go track them all down. Go arrest them and immediately begin the process of removing them from the United States to draw more attention to this. But Harris, I feel, and I'm sure many viewers out there feel, this is just the tip of the iceberg. That thing that they keep telling us never happens. Boy, it sure does seem to happen when you just start to pay a little bit of attention to what's going on here. We don't know how many people are illegally registered to vote. The president said last week, I believe the number was 278,000 just based on 4 states that they've been able to audit. How in the world are we not ensuring that the most important right that exists in the United States, which is fair and safe and transparent elections that we can all trust, aren't as 100% safe as possible? Arrest all 400 of these people, get them out of the country, draw attention to it, and let's really continue to examine the existing voting rolls and find out how many more tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of people are currently on voter rolls that shouldn't be there.
Yeah, and how many years have people been lying about it? Like, well, what did it take for Mikey Sherrill to come clean? Like, what was the pressure like behind the scenes? We've got this video. I'm curious about that.
Yeah, and also, I remember it wasn't very long ago, Harris, Kamala Harris was saying, hey, we need everybody to register and vote with paper ballots because it's the most secure. Nowadays, when you point out that paper ballots are the most secure, somehow it's an awful, unacceptable opinion to have. Well, Kamala just had it a few years ago.
Well, we know that the software company has denied vehemently that there was a glitch. Look, this is a lot for politicians to swallow when they make these errors on their own, so we'll see what happens. Let's move forward. Another showdown over the Smithsonian. House Republicans again pressing the museum's director today during a hearing that just wrapped up a few minutes ago. Earlier this month, the White House accused the institution of promoting a woke retelling of America's history. Yesterday, Republican lawmakers tore into the director of the National Museum of American History. Critics are accusing the museum of pushing exhibits that promote open borders, social justice, transgender activism.
When you are dressing men up as women, drag queens, you're putting this kind of crap in front of kids, sexualizes them, and makes them more vulnerable to people that want to rape them or abuse them.
Girlhood, It's Complicated was not an exhibit designed for children.
Do you believe that men can become women?
Ma'am, as the director of the museum, that's not relevant in this case.
It's very relevant. You've got men dressed up as women, and you have them on displays in front of kids. Do you think men can become women, yes or no? What is a woman?
We strive to represent and not categorize all Americans.
Okay,
Oh, that's some high-level dodgeball right there. I don't want that woman anywhere near anybody's kids. Come on. The White House blistering 162-page report concluded the Smithsonian, quote, purposely presents America as a problematic country and cannot be trusted to tell America's story honestly. Clay.
Look, if you can't say whether a man can become a woman or not, I would submit that you shouldn't be able to run any museum in America or any high-level institution in America, because I can't trust you to be honest about anything if you can't answer that basic question. I was a history major undergrad, Harris. I absolutely love history of all types and all backgrounds. we have to make Americans more historically literate, and we have to focus not only on the bad things that have occurred in American history, but on the overwhelming triumphs. The fact that this is the greatest country in the history of the world, and our history over 250 years constantly aspires and leads to greatness. And what has happened far too often, I think it was directly connected to the 1619 Project, is by deciding to focus on the worst moments of American history. There is a very clear and calculated attempt to attack the founders and the history of this nation, because if you can do that, then all of the founding documents deserve to be examined and potentially replaced. That, Harris, is really what I think all of this is about, the long-range plan to try to make Americans, particularly young Americans, not proud to be from this country, and sadly, it's working.
Well, look, from the U.S. Supreme Court with Ketanji Brown Jackson and on down across Washington, Democrats don't know what a woman is. It is so confounding. Anyway, another country is taking a bold step to protect children online. French lawmakers have passed a sweeping ban on social media for children under 15. Now, remember, Australia became the first country to implement such a ban last year. Similar restrictions are expected to take effect next year in the UK. Other nations like Spain, Denmark, and Greece are also considering their own bans. Recent Fox polling shows 60% of American voters favor a ban, and the same amount also believe it's important for the federal government to focus on reducing screen time in general. So the ages are similar. In France, it's 15, Australia, it's 16. It's that hinge point, you know, too much in those teenage years, too much exposure. What's your thought on this?
I've got two teenagers in my house right now and one who's just a couple of years away. I do think kids are on social media too much. Now, the challenge, as many parents know, is those kids are often smarter at finding out ways to get on social media than their parents are at restricting it. I can't speak for everyone, but in our household, we put a rule in place. You can't get a phone until you're 14 years old. I think that's a good rule, even though my kids were not very happy with it, and even though most kids get phones now at much younger ages. Look, Harris, the data reflects that 30% of teenage girls have thought about killing themselves in the last year. I mean, think about how extraordinary and awful that is. I think it's directly connected to spending too much time on social media. I actually favor these bans. Again, the kids are going to be smart enough oftentimes to get around them, but I think parents everywhere should take control, make better decisions about the ages their kids get phones and how much access they have to social media.
Yeah, it's a good point about how kids are going to find a way, but you have to at least deter. It's interesting because even people who are against government involvement in other areas of life are for this. It's a big job for parents, and I think many are looking
Harris,
for a little
look, you
help.
can't get a driver's license until you're 16 years old, right?
That's
The
a good
government
point.
is involved very often in regulating what kids can do. So I would push back on anybody who says this isn't appropriate.
Absolutely. Clay Travis, thank you for being with me.
All right, last portion of today's show. We've been hitting the Democrats pretty hard. We've been hitting the Democrat Socialists pretty hard. We've been putting them together and noting how they have been dysfunctional, how they might be killing each other, might end up having the Democrat Socialists take control, and then we could be in big, big trouble. Or maybe the party's in big trouble. Somebody's in trouble. This whole dynamic with the rise of the DSA, I just wanted to stop. I would much rather, I know this is maybe not how everybody thinks, but I would rather fight lucid, semi-understanding, and definitely America accepting. I know that it's hard in today's world to find a Democrat that truly loves America, but at the very least, don't hate America. Don't be a Marxist. I would rather fight against those, again, semi-lucid Democrats than these extremists, these Marxists. They are, in my humble opinion, they are evil. Go figure. But with that said, I'm going to end the show today with, it's funny, two guys that I don't really care for. Larry Kudlow, he's fine. It's okay. Fox Business guy. I agree with him sometimes. Jim Lankford, I don't agree with. He's the rhino's rhino. He's a big problem for the GOP in the Senate. Not as big as like a Lisa Murkowski. It's not that bad, but he's not good. Well, this is the best that I've seen Kudlow maybe ever. going after the GOP for being feckless, for doing nothing, and this, especially in the Senate. The House is doing okay. They're doing okay. Senate is failing miserably, and it's hurting the country. And so it's good to hear Kudlow go after them for being weak.
Right now, you, the leadership in both houses, are bungling everything, sir. I say that with all due respect, and we are personal friends. It's not but you're bungling everything. Nothing is getting done. Your messaging is non-existent. You've lost your swag, your swagger, your riz, or whatever the young people say. No one knows what the heck you're doing, sir. They have no idea.
Yeah, you're welcome. And this is part of the challenge we've got with all of our media friends out there that continue to be able to beat up on Republicans and say Republicans are all the problem. But apparently the socialist Democrats in New York City, they seem to be perfect, because most conservative media right now is beating up on Republicans and just ignoring the socialists who are running rampant all over the country. So I look back on what happened with the One Big Beautiful Bill. Look at the housing bill we just passed. There's a lot of things that are going on that are good, and I understand.
Nobody has attacked Mondami more than I have, for heaven's sake. That isn't the point.
I wasn't saying that just about you. I was saying
that isn't the point.
This is the challenge that we're up against right now.
What is it that your policy is? Senator Langford, my friend, what is your policy? Where are the tax cuts? Where are the spending cuts? Where's the waste, fraud, and corruption reduction? Where is all of that? Where is the reconciliation bill? Where's the straight talk and messaging for the midterms? Where's the growth messaging? Where's the we're going to make it better for taxpayers and working folks messaging? Come on, Senator.
Glad to be able to take it on, Larry. Glad, and again, you and I are friends. We've talked through all this stuff before. So let's just start with last year and what's coming out right now on all the tax policy. Obviously, tax rates didn't go up. We dealt with permanent expensing for all of our businesses in trying to be able to make sure they're growing. They're growing. The reason we're actually dealing with growth right now, you are an expert on this, you know it full well, is because the changes we made in last year's tax bill. We'd love to do a lot more on that, and we will be able to do a lot more on that, but we're still getting all of those things implemented right now. The housing bill that we just passed starts a whole different process of taking the federal regulations, trying to make housing cheaper for everybody. Right now, all the different pieces on fraud are being implemented on SNAP, on the food stamp fraud that's been happening around the country. That's being implemented right now. That is billions of dollars in savings. It's also putting work requirements on individuals and taking away the rights of people that are illegally present in the United States to be able to get these extra benefits. All those are things that are happening right now because Republicans actually put those in place. So there's a lot of things that are going on.
Look at the One Big Beautiful Bill is good. Okay, nobody fought for that harder than I did, but that was a year ago. What have you done for me lately? What have you done this year? Okay,
so
the point is, and let me ask you,
let's take the housing bill.
I think that, by the way, let's take the housing bill. You've done nothing on the tax side. It's mostly spending. The regulatory stuff is local. You can't control that. The housing bill, frankly, was an Elizabeth Warren special. Okay, and I don't think it's going to help them one single bit. Getting mortgage rates down would be more important than anything in there.
True,
but you're not helping
people.
You're not helping people with their mortgages. See, if you sell a home, if an empty nester sells a home, they have to pay a humongous capital gains tax on the inflation. Was Joe Biden's inflation or COVID inflation, whatever, they're not getting a break. You're not inflation indexing that. You didn't raise the allowance for capital gains. It should have gone to $1 million or even $2 million, for heaven's sakes, to offset the inflation of the last 30 years. This could have been done. When you talk about, you're saying what food stamps and so forth, what new legislation have you proposed that takes out all the people that are fraudulently receiving Medicaid benefits, Medicare benefits, hospice benefits, and yes, food stamp benefits? And why are you spending more money on farmers that have already received enormous amounts of money? I mean, after all, this stuff, where are you draining the swamp, Senator Langford? That's what people are asking.
Let me walk through those if you'll give me a chance to be able to talk through it. Medicaid, we just made major changes on Medicaid. And again, individuals that are not legally present off of that made major changes in Medicaid and actually adding a work requirement just like there are on other benefits on that. that is actually bringing people off welfare and putting them to work on that. We're already seeing that in place. We talked about the food stamps and what we're doing on the fraud piece on that. Right now, Dr. Oz just met with him 2 weeks ago. They've just closed down a ton of hospices that have popped up into the LA area on it, which we've seen a ton of fraud on. The administration's taken the steps on that. Congress is backing them up on that to make sure that we're able to protect them. That's something the law that they already had to be able to enforce. They're actually enforcing that law in there. So there are good things that are happening.
But you're
it's
not,
just
those
a
aren't
lot easier to talk about the rest.
But those aren't legislative. Those are administrative. And
two of
who
the three things I just mentioned were legislative.
Which is legislated?
So the food stamp piece, the Medicaid piece, both those dealing with the fraud and reform.
From last year.
Correct, but you said nothing's been done on that. I want to identify something has been done, but it was billions of dollars in changes on
You all are
things.
talking about continuing resolutions, and you're talking about another reconciliation bill. And I want to know is what is going on in those bills? Because we've learned a lot in the past year about waste, fraud, and corruption. So I'm asking you, what are you doing now to look, I know Emmett Oz is doing the Lord's work. I like the fact that Robert Kennedy has taken $1 billion out. I understand that, but those aren't codified. That's not new legislation. That could be overturned by a Democratic Congress. If you're going to have a reconciliation bill, Senator, you've got to put this stuff into it, and it's not going into it. I don't even think the Senate leadership wants a reconciliation bill, does it? And there's no one in the Senate leadership talking about cutting taxes on ordinary working folks so they can sell their mortgages without paying for Joe Biden's inflation.
So what you're talking about is actually a House proposal right now, Larry. That's what's funny about this. The Senate hasn't put out their reconciliation proposal. You're complaining about what the House is putting out today on that one. I'd love for you to get Speaker Johnson on board to be able to talk about that. But I'm just saying the Senate hasn't even put that out yet. So you're talking about you're talking about what's included in the Senate proposal. The Senate hasn't put anything out yet.
Are you? Are you going to put something out?
We are going to put something out.
When?
It probably won't be this week on it because we're waiting for the House to be able to send their proposal over. That's the way the system works, as you know extremely well. The House has got to be able to send those over. Then the Senate's able to be able to take it up. Ron Johnson, who is now leading that effort for the Senate, be glad to be able to talk you through some of the strategy that he's running on that.
I just had him on the show yesterday. Ron Johnson's a good man. He's the supply sider. But I'm not hearing, I'm not hearing any talk about tax cuts. I'm not hearing any talk about waste, fraud, and abuse. What I gather, just reading Senator Thune, there may not even be a continuing resolution, but if there is a continuing resolution, it's not going to have any of this stuff in it.